do stealth games deal with detection? School of Stealth Part 3. Oh,
Stealth games
a
are
good
all
ass
about
sound.
staying hidden, but for there to be any tension at all, that means games must also include the opposite,
Yes.
being found. This is perhaps the most fundamental problem that stealth game designers have to solve, and it's something that games have wrestled with since the very invention of the genre. So what better way to finish off the School of Stealth, which is my 3-part mini-series on the design of sneaky games, than to ask, how do stealth games deal with detection? First, let's talk about the 2 most simple solutions for handling detection, just to get them out of the way. One is the instant game over, as seen in the Miles and MJ bits of the most recent Spider-Man game. This is just inherently frustrating, and unless your levels are absolutely tiny or littered with checkpoints, it should probably be avoided.
Caught by nerd?
Another approach is to irreversibly shift the situation into a more traditional combat setup. So in Uncharted 2, you start most combat encounters in stealth, but if you get spotted, the entire area becomes immediately aware of your presence and the game transitions into a typical Uncharted shootout, and there's no way for Drake to hide. This is a lot better than the instant game over and can work pretty well in certain games. But if stealth is the focus of the experience, then the player is suddenly no longer playing the game they bought, and is awkwardly shunted into a completely different type of gameplay.
Yep.
So
if you don't want to play with all the gun shooting, don't get caught, all right? That seems like a skill issue to me.
it's an approach that should be used with maximum caution. Okay, with those covered, let's move on to some proper solutions. And to talk about this stuff, we need to briefly discuss how video game AI works. Most games use either a finite state machine or a behavior tree, and without getting into the nerdy details, the basic concept is this. AI characters exist in a specific state, with relevant actions and animations available to them. When a suitable condition is met, the character will shift into a different state.
I always thought games that actually had like good idle animations, like for the enemies, and like if you're the main character, if like you're just waiting around to see like some unique idle animations, I thought that was like so cool. And it still is, but it's just like a lot of games nowadays they just don't do that. But it's a nice little flavor thing.
Think of Pac-Man, where the ghosts typically exist in the chase state, where they hunt down Pac-Man. But if you grab the power pellet, the ghosts will transition into the escape state and try to run away. Until the pellet runs out, that is, and we're back to the chase state. There's a bit more to it than that, so check out my Design Icons episode on Pac-Man if you're interested. Anyway, in the world of stealth games, 1998's Metal Gear Solid provides a really clear template for the different states that stealth game guards can move between, with clear distinctions shown right there on your radar. Typically, the guards are in an idle state, as they walk along a predetermined patrol path or stand guard at a specific point. If Snake walks into the guard's view cone, the radar says alert, and the enemy enters a combat state. They now shoot at Snake and chase after him. If Snake manages to break the guard's line of sight and find somewhere to hide, the guard enters the search state. Now the radar says evasion and a timer starts counting down. If the guard finds Snake, they go back to their combat state. But if the timer runs down, the guard goes back to their idle patrol path and the system is reset.
Bro, like, I never played like any Metal Gear Solid game from beginning to end. Just because I couldn't stand that camera angle where like you're looking straight down. Well, not straight down, but you know, like kind of downish, like with Snake or whatever. And then essentially the whole level, to me, it was like just go forward. It just W key or just, you know, forward on the joystick or whatever. Because like I tried to play, what was it, Snake Eater, which is like a really good one. So I'm like, oh, you know, there's a lot of quality of life things that are in there. Maybe I'll like this. And then I tried to play it. I like the couple times that I got spotted, it was like it did the standard, you know, go into alert state, go into evasive state, and then it went into like caution state or something. And I'm just like, I just remember like getting down into a log, like a hollowed out log, and hiding there for like a good 3 minutes, 4 minutes, like just waiting for this timer to go like all the way down so I could just continue doing the shit. And I was like, at that moment, I'm like, I am not good enough for this game. I don't have the mental to like just do this or whatever. So I'm just like, fuck this. This is stupid. I hate this dumb timer. And yeah, I have never played a Metal Gear from beginning to end because of that stupid fucking timer.
This simple structure is still used in most stealth games today, but just with a tad more nuance. For starters, Metal Gear Solid's instant binary system of detection can be pretty harsh, so many games introduce a certain amount of fuzziness between the idle and combat states. Let's look at Dishonored 2. If we get inside a guard's view cone, they stay in idle, but a lightning bolt icon appears and starts filling up with white. If it gets to about halfway, the guard will enter a new state, suspicious, and walk towards us. When the bolt fills up all the way, the guard becomes alerted, draws their weapon, and moves more quickly. Now the lightning bolt fills up again, this time with red, and when that tops out, the guard finally enters combat. At any moment here, we can break line of sight with the enemy and avoid entering combat. If we do so while idle, the guard doesn't register us at all, and if we escape during the suspicious or alerted states, the guard will search the area for a while before giving up and returning to their patrol. This is a much more generous approach to stealth.
What is that little snappy sound he's using? Is that for Metal Gear Solid? I think it is. Like when you like click, what was it, R2, L2? Like the little things on the bottom corners or whatever. Those things pop up. Yeah, it has to be.
Because it gives the player more leeway to make mistakes without feeling the sting of complete failure. Another thing to consider is how the guards hunt you down when they're in their search state. We don't want to feel like the guards are cheating and have unfair knowledge of your location, after all. So, video game guards typically use the same sensors as discussed in episode 1 to follow an escaping player. And if they lose line of sight, they'll register a last known position and converge on that. In the game Splinter Cell Blacklist, you can even see that for yourself as a ghostly white outline of Sam Fisher. Also, how many guards should come after you when you get spotted?
Bro, again, I was gonna harp on this. Whenever I was playing Metal Gear, it's like I would get spotted, dispatch of all the enemies in the area, and since that timer thing is still going on, it's like people just from like random buttfuck Egypt or whatever are just like just coming over off the level onto this little zone that I'm in, and it's like I didn't see you guys. Like when I was like coming into the zone, why is this zone like fully populated again? That was just another reason why I was just like, and this is me like trying to play coming off of like Splinter Cell or whatever, you know? With Splinter Cell, it was like, this is the level, do the objective, and then within the level, the map, there's X amount of enemies, and that's it. There's no more. You could essentially just cruise through the level, take everybody out, and then do the objective. You know, because I don't know, I was like a completionist in that sense. I got to find every single guy, got to down every single guy, and that was fun to me. But with Metal Gear, it was really hard to do that.
Another classic stealth game grumble is the feeling of an entire fortress of baddies becoming alert because you got seen by one dude.
Yeah.
In Dishonored 2, any guards close enough to hear an enemy scream of, "Hey, you over there," will join in the hunt, but characters who are further away will remain unaware of your presence. This is important because it gives players the ability to neutralize the nearby threat and return the system to stealthiness, but it doesn't encourage a Rambo-like rampage of the entire level. Other games actually turn this into an interesting bit of gameplay, so an enemy who sees you will run to an alarm tower to gather reinforcements for the fight. This gives you a clutch moment to kill that guard before they alert their friends, or if you booby-trapped the alarm, a wonderful outcome to your sneaky plan.
Explosive.
And then there's the question of how quickly should the guards return to idle after you escape? We want to give players the ability to reset the system back to its original stealthy setup.
Yeah, this was it. I think that, what is this, Snake Eater? Bro, this alert, evasive, caution, like this 3-level alarm thing, like killed me.
But it can feel weirdly unrealistic for a guard to give up and go back to idly wandering back and forth after 3 of their friends just got assassinated. So in the Phantom Pain, while guards will quite quickly give up on actively hunting for you, the entire nearby area will stay on alert for much longer, with guards stuck in a more cautious patrol path for many in-game hours. And in Arkham Asylum, guards never go back to their original calm state after Batman is spotted. Instead, there's a new normal state, nervous, where guards walk back to back and keep their weapons raised. Now, when you're creating all of these complex new states and systems, it's vitally important that the player understands what is happening. This can be done through user interface elements like the lightning bolt and ghostly outline I talked about before, but voice barks are also great.
I saw you! No use hiding!
Keep your eyes peeled!
Anybody? Nothing!
And if that's not within budget, look at Untitled Goose Game, which uses thought bubbles and cute icons to explain what its characters are thinking about. And when you put all of this stuff together, you get a pretty good detection system. It's a somewhat realistic representation of how someone would react to an intruder, but with enough gaminess to remain readable and exploitable. The fuzziness between idle and combat gives the game a generous failure spectrum where players get to mess up without breaking out of the stealth mode.
Right.
And letting players escape, hide, and reset the system back to zero means stealth games actually get a second type of gameplay.
Yeah, because like you need many fail points in like stealth games, because like in real life, if you're like one of these guards or whatever, okay, so like yeah, in real life, if you're like one of these guards actually patrolling an area, like you're not being suspicious, there's no state you're in. It's like, bro, you're already like suited up, you're already like geared to the teeth with like assault rifles, like flak jackets and whatever. It's like you expect something to happen. All right, there is no I'm just chilling here waiting for shit to happen. It's like, no, you're already in like go mode, and like there is no, oh, who was that? Oh, it's probably nothing. If there's any inkling of like a dude that's not supposed to be there, they're opening up on you like instantly. So yeah, I would say games like stealth games need all these like different states and fail points.
The cautious, slow, methodical rhythm of sneaking gets neatly paired with a chaotic flurry of improvisational action. One moment you're slipping an optic fiber camera under a door or waiting patiently in the shadows. The next you're frantically chasing down a witness, diving through a window, or riding your horse away in a blizzard of gunfire.
I would say.
Except, in many games, that's not actually the case. Because forget all the stealth game gadgets I talked about in episode 2, the most powerful gadget in many stealth games is this one, the quick load key. It's no secret that many stealth game players experience these games by saving before trying anything remotely sneaky and
Save scumming. I can't remember. Did I ever do this shit? I think I did. I don't think I tried to do it like often if I knew about it. I mean, yeah, it takes the shit out of the game or whatever. It takes the tension out of it. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that, you know, save scum stuff happens or whatever. But the game, I mean, ultimately it's nice to like, it's nice for casuals like playing it if they're like getting really frustrated on like a certain spot or whatever. But I mean, again, it's all about like what you want to do as a player. Like, you know, if you beat the game the first time and all you did was save scum, you know, maybe you can go through the game. There's a new game plus. Maybe you go through it again, and then you don't save scum. You know, So it's like a give and take kind of thing.
And then quickly loading back to that save point if things go wrong. And I've got to include myself in that group. We use the power of save game time travel to remove mistakes and turn our stealth game story into one where Sam Fisher is never spotted and never screws up. It's become so prevalent that it's just baked into Shadow Tactics as the official way to deal with failure. And Arcane brought the experience from PC to console in its PlayStation and Xbox versions of Dishonored 2. And I think this kinda sucks. It completely breaks the flow of the experience. It kills the tension of being spotted if you're one button away from fixing it. It removes all that dynamism of escaping from danger. So, how did we get here? Well, I think there's a lot of reasons why we abuse these quick save systems. For starters, there's the inherent power fantasy that these games provide. They tell us that we're supposed to be an impossibly good spy, ninja, assassin, or whatever, someone who goes through missions without ever being spotted and would never make a mistake. So recovering from an unforced error just doesn't really fit with that. And I don't know how to fix that one. That's maybe one for the narrative people. Then there's the fact that the searching part of this whole equation is really dull. Escaping is fun, but sitting in a cupboard for more than a minute before the system is reset is incredibly boring, and so why wouldn't you just reload to the moment before you got spotted? And then you've got achievements, score rankings, and end-of-level checkboxes for playing without ever being spotted. Now, don't get me wrong, I think these are cool because ghosting levels is a legitimately interesting way to play stealth games.
Yeah, but for those checkboxes or achievements or whatever, I think those should be done on like after you've played the game a couple times, you know, like at least once or twice. You know, you know where all the AI, you know, the general gameplay, the enemy pathing and whatnot. I wouldn't try to get those things like on your first playthrough. Like if you're an achievement hunter or something like that, you know, that's something you do like later. Like on your first playthrough, don't save scum and just play the game.
Just in the same way that speedrunning is an interesting way to play, and yet no developer would ever try to encourage players to do that on their first ever playthrough of a game. So developers should try to find ways to get around this. For example, the game Assault Android Cactus rewards players who can chain together every enemy in a single level. But the game doesn't tell you that it's tracking this until you do it for the first time. So this rewards particularly good players without confusing new ones about how to play the game. Developers, just copy that. That's really smart. And then there's the fact that these quick save systems exist at all. They don't have to be in there, and there's plenty of games, especially those that originated on console, which just have checkpoints at the start of each encounter. That way, you're encouraged to keep playing and see if you can salvage your screw-up. And I mean, developers could at least limit the ridiculous effectiveness of quick save. Let's look to another genre where a single screw-up could be disastrous: racing games. For about a decade now, racing game developers have offered the ability to rewind time back to the exact moment before you took that terrible corner and crashed into a tree. And this is really smart. Not just because rewinding is way more intuitive than manually saving, but because these developers almost always limit the number of rewinds you can use per race. This means that you can overcome a few mistakes, but can't just redo every single error until you have an absolutely perfect lap. There's already a similar system in the Arkham games. It's very easy to escape from danger, bounce around a few gargoyles, and almost immediately reset the system back to stealth. But Batman will take a face full of buckshot in the process and lose some health, which does not regenerate until the end of the encounter.
I remember that.
This means that Batman can only make a finite number of boo-boos before it's game over.
Boo-boos.
So, when you get spotted, an elegantly designed stealth game doesn't just end or switch to a completely different genre. Instead, it forces you to find a way out of the situation, but it also quickly lets you return to the sneaky action you came for. This is achieved through clever AI states and design that encourages players to hide rather than kill or quick load. And that's it for the School of Stealth. Thank you so much for following this short mini-series, and I hope you found it interesting. Of course, there's more I could talk about, like multiplayer stealth games or the early submarine sims that inspired.
Bro, I actually really enjoyed the Assassin's Creed, like the early multiplayer of it, you know, where I I don't really remember going online to figure out like the meta of it or whatever. I just remember you were either good at it or you were bad at it, because a lot of the times there would be like this one ability where you could like clone yourself into like a crowd of people, and it was like a one out of like four or one out of five chances of you um actually getting got by like some other players, because it how the AC multiplayer worked was like it wasn't just 1v1 or whatever. It was like it was free for all, but it was like 8 people. And you could kind of select your loadout or whatever at the beginning, and it was like it just kill the other player. Like you had to find them and kill them and you get a point or something. I forgot exactly how it worked. And it's like you like the more stylish you killed them, the more points you got or whatever. Um and there was a lot of mind games that could go into it. Like it was so cool. Like I mean, I never really looked up the meta for those types of games, but for the time I did play it, I thought it was cool.
The genre, but I hope this gives you the basic rules that you can learn, use, and then most importantly of all, ignore. I can't wait to see what the future of the stealth game genre looks like. Hey, Mark here. Just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone who's signed up to the Game Jam over on itch.io. We've already had over 5,000 signups, meaning that this one is on pace to be even bigger than 2019's Jam, which broke itch.io servers because it was so big. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen again. Anyway, thanks and see you soon.
Nice. This is a great little series. I like this. I'm like hyped for like the next like stealth game that's gonna come out. I think it's supposed to be like Ubisoft is coming out with like another Splinter Cell, or I don't know. Yeah, I kind of want to go play like the old like stealth games again because of this little series. I thought it was cool, but definitely liked it. I want to see more, but that's about it. All right, so I'll catch you guys later. Peace.